Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message, When Your Partner is Not on Board. When your partner is not on board with the things that you are going through, whether it's with his family, with your own family, if it's something new that you are embarking on, whatever it might be, when your partner is not on board, he or she can become a foe quite easily. You know how? Because one major error that many people make in relationships, and I have been guilty as charged in the past, is that we put way too much focus on what we don't want our partners doing. We don't want you going over there where the enemy is. We don't want you picking up the phone, talking to so-and-so. We don't want you going on this internet site and that one. We don't want you mixed up with this group. And besides, if you call yourself a Christian, why are you over there? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And when you are doing that, you are so focused on what your partner is doing that you no longer see what God is doing or what he is capable of doing. Some folks, the reason why you don't have the upper hand when it comes to getting some things done is because you have given power over your mind, money, space, time to your partner. And you've done it for so long that when you finally do see that there's something that you really want your partner to be in support of, he or she doesn't feel like they have to because, well, all before you were okay with this and all before you didn't have any problems. But now that you have problems, you want me to go along with some things. Oh, no, because see, all before you told me to make the decision. You told me to come up with the plan. You told me to go here, to go there. OK, you're the one who opened up the door when you started speaking all this positive stuff about this one and that one. And now suddenly overnight, I'm supposed to change. Come on. Some folks, you see, this is where we end up getting ourselves mixed up in emotional, physical, spiritual bondage with some people all over again. God cleaned you up. He told you can have your peace. Okay. And what people did was they said, okay, I got my peace, but can I get my family too? Can I get them to go along with the programming? Let me be very clear, especially in my past audio messages. Those messages were about you. Come on. Because we have to start with us first before we can go off into some other territories telling our partners what they should and shouldn't do. Okay, we got to make sure that we got our stuff together emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So if your partner don't see you going to church, how are you going to sit up there and tell him that he needs to read his Bible? He needs to be, draw near to the Lord. He needs to stop doing certain things, or she needs to get her act together. She needs to stop going out here, getting mixed up with all her toxic relatives and so forth. Wait a minute, hold up. Aren't you on the phone talking to your toxic sister? Aren't you on the phone talking to your toxic brother? What about all of those negative folks that you told me you had problems with, right? But yet, every time I turn around, you skipping out on being with our family to be with them, you see. So we can't demand people do too much of anything when we are not good models. Or how about we say, don't talk about my family, okay? But yet it's okay, though, for you to talk about his or her family. Uh-oh. You see, we need to allow the Lord to work on us a bit longer before we start opening up our mouths, going even to the Lord saying, can you do this for my partner? Can you do that? Can you make him understand why it is so important for him to be here and not over there? Why he needs to be on my side? Why he needs to be protecting our family and all of that? You see, I was told years ago, just be quiet. I said, what? He said, here's my advice to you. Be quiet. You talk way too much to your partner about everything that's going on. He don't need to know about what's going on with the family. He doesn't need to know about every move you make. You don't need to express all of your feelings to him. You don't need to do too much of anything, but just go along with your life in the way that God has called you to go along with your wife or life. I said wife. It's funny how you start thinking of all sorts of things as you are speaking. Because some folks, the problem with them is they don't want to go along with their wives, and they don't want to go along with their husbands. They don't want to go along with anything. But I digress. So anyway, during that period of quiet, I've been praying a lot of things, including the fact that I wanted my particular partner to start being faithful, right? Why can't you just keep your eyes to yourself? Why can't you stop, having these little emotional cheating bouts and physical cheating? Can't you just be true to me, please? And the Lord, he said, you're going to stop. You're going to stop talking about all of these things to other people. You're going to stop talking to him about them, and you're just going to be quiet. And let me tell you, when I started being quiet and I started having my own life, come on, some of you all, you don't need to be at home all day, every day with your partner, right? You don't need to be talking to him all day, every day. Some men, they don't even want their partners. If you go on the internet, do some research, you will find out many men, they're not attracted to women who have a whole lot to say. Now on these audio messages, oh yeah, I have plenty to say because God is moving me to say some things. But for the most part, I don't really have too much to say to some folks offline. I really don't. It's kind of quiet, you see, unless the Lord moves me to talk to somebody in person. It's really quiet for the most part because there's too much work to be done. And we don't have these things going on with some of us dealing with family members and friends because we have allowed the Lord to lead us into all sorts of different activities and so forth. And we bring our children along to those activities. So then this way, if you live in the same town, same city or what have you, and I know somebody who does this right now. This woman does it right now with her own kids. Okay. Been doing it for years. She makes sure they're so involved with different activities in addition to herself that when people call her up talking about, oh, can I pick up your daughter? Can I, do this? And someone else, can I pick up your sons? And, oh yeah, by the way, are your sons coming to see me and all that? Matter of fact, I'm talking about two women. These women, no, they are not ripping and running over people's houses. And they don't mind saying, no, we are not celebrating the holidays over there. And no, I'm not having no event here. Right? Some of you all, you need to take heed to the fact that if there is that partner who is not like you in the sense that he has some issues with someone or, she has some issues with some folks, hey, let them be free because sooner or later they're going to realize that the things you've been warning them about, oh, maybe I should listen. You see? I know that we don't like to see our children be used as guinea pigs, if you will, or we don't like to see our partners end up falling into all sorts of troubles and so forth. But guess what? It's going to happen sooner or later if they refuse to just listen to common sense or wisdom. Sometimes they're not going to receive anything from us, but they'll receive it from someone else. And I know, yes, it rubs you the wrong way. Oh, I've been telling him that for years. I've been telling her that for years. Oh, but somebody come along and say something and now she receives it. Look, don't be upset. At least they received it. Okay? Because I used to be that way too. Oh, so you can receive that information from that particular ethnicity. Yes, I'm going to go there because that's what I was thinking. You can receive certain information from that ethnicity, but your own people, you don't want to receive anything from. You see? But then I realized that, do I want to make that man or men, because there's been, my share of men in my life, right? Do I want to make them front and center, or do I want God in my life? Do I want to make him front and center? Do I want him to be the head? Okay. And when I made up in my mind that I wanted God to be the head and I started going to him with the troubles rather than picking up the phone, talking to everybody about whatever was going on, that's when I started seeing a shift in the atmosphere. And see, what happens is that when you start taking God seriously and you stop focusing so much on what everybody else is doing, you will find that you're growing spiritually and it doesn't hurt so much. It doesn't hurt so much when the man decides that he wants to do whatever. Okay. And he's not considering your thoughts, your feelings. Well, you know what? I don't really care. I got Jesus. Come on. I got Jesus. Somebody needs to say that. I know that it's hard right now because you are so entangled in that yoke of bondage of family and friends and what my partner thinks and, you know, where he's going and where my children are going and what are they doing. And when you're so mixed up in that mess, it isn't any wonder why you cannot pass any tests. So when a test shows up and somebody invites you somewhere, you go along with it because why? You were entangled in that yoke of bondage again. It started mentally. It started mentally. For some folks, it started right there when everything was good, when everything was okay. And then along comes that little pretty face, right? And that little happy grin. And then here comes the phone call and here comes somebody buying something for the babies. And oh yeah, they worked their way back in. Now we got all these people on the internet that talk about narcissism. They talk about psychopaths. They talk about liars, manipulators. Okay. They talk about all these different people with personality disorders. And for some reason, some believers want to just walk into these little settings blind. Others, they're not walking into settings blind. They see things for what they really are. But the problem is that they don't ponder, well, what happens if before it happens? You see what I mean? God will let you know that what happens if this, that, or the other takes place. This is what I want you to do. But if I don't go to him and ask him, well, how am I supposed to conduct myself if I get that phone call suddenly? Then I'm going to be like, right? But if I get that phone call suddenly, I can say in the name of Jesus, hello, because it's going to get real spiritual. You see, because I'm bringing God into my battle. But those that believe that they are still their own gods, they're not bringing God into the battle because they're fearful of how they might sound. I don't want to sound like I'm all in the God like that. Well, you should, because if you put God before you, folks aren't going to be so quick to invite you to anything. Okay. Oh, her husband, he's all spiritual. He's in a God these days. Wow. Talking about he's going to church and everything and what God has done. Yeah. So they won't invite him. If he's doing what he's supposed to, the devil don't want that spiritual brother in Christ showing up. Oh no. Why you gotta invite him? Oh, that's right. You know he gonna come over here talking about God and everything. See? Oh yeah, those invites stop over time. You get closer and closer to the Lord, the phone calls stop too. Those folks, oh no, you're the last one on the list. They don't want to talk to you. You see? Some folks, we have allowed them to be in our lives for so long to the point where they wear out their welcome. Once again, I had to do some purging. Over 100 and some different contacts. The Lord said, nope, you won't be calling all those different people. You will not. Okay? And why? Why would he say that? I mean, isn't God loving? Isn't he sweet? Isn't he kind and merciful? Why wouldn't he encourage you, Nicole, to call those people? Why wouldn't he move on you to go over to their homes? You know why? Because he knows their heart and he knows what's right around the bend. He knows the future. That's why. And he knows that some of those folks, they are not like what you think. They are not the kind of people that's going to sit there and break bread and behave themselves. Okay. So sometimes God will tell you not to pick up the phone or go around some people for your safety, because maybe that person may not be abusive to you verbally or physically, but on the way to their home, there's a devil that just might cause an accident or two. You see, on their way to the event, some folks ended up getting themselves into some arguments because you should have never been going over there to begin with. But sometimes, and I've seen this for years, sometimes if the partner learns how to step back from some things, the other partner will follow suit. I've seen it with my own eyes, because that person starts thinking, that husband or wife starts thinking, wait a minute, why is it that my husband or why is it that my wife doesn't like coming over here? Maybe I need to pay closer attention. Because, see, sometimes it's not good enough to tell people. You see, you got to get in the car, right? You got to go over there. You got to see for yourself. You got to experience the drama. Why do you call your brother? Why do you call your sister? Why do you get mixed up with the in-laws? You know how they are. Right? Well, it was because of my husband or because of my wife or because of my, daughter, and she loves her grandmother and all this other stuff. Okay, that's good, but you can have supervised visits, right? Where grandma loves her granddaughter so much. Well, I don't want her coming to the house. Well, let me tell you how we solved that problem some years back. Okay. It was real simple. We all met. We met at restaurants. Okay. And then, for the one who wanted to really be around grandma and I really didn't want to be around grandma, I was like, oh, I got this to do. I got that to do. But yeah, go ahead. Take the kids. Just so long as you're going. As long as you're going. You see, because when you have had repeated episodes where your children have been caught up with some foolishness concerning grandparents or extended relatives, and your partner can't see that, then yes, there's going to be arguments, and you shouldn't be fearful. You shouldn't be stressed out or worried about it. Sometimes you've got to speak and know they're not going to go along, and they may even say, I'm taking a baby anyway. Okay, go right ahead. And then you spend that time going through your home praying in the name of Jesus. You spend that time reading your word. And they may do it again, and they may do it again and again, and you keep praying in Jesus' name. Oh, now guess what happened? You're drawing near to the Lord. Sometimes God sets it up that way. God, why would you let him take the baby over there? Oh, because it's been a while since you really prayed those fervent prayers. But you going to pray them now because that man got your baby. You going to pray them prayers now, sister, because that woman, because some of you all got those kind of relationships, got your son and she taking him over there to her toxic relatives. You see? And some folks, it's unfortunate, but their relationships are destined to fail. They're going to fail because of the simple fact is, number one, you got two people who do not want to compromise, do not want to cooperate. You got two people who don't want to listen to one another. I went through this. You got two people who want to be competitive. My family's better than your family. My family bought the most. My family was around. My family was there. Okay, you know what? You're going to keep on talking like that. And then eventually folks are going to say, well, you know what? My mama was always right about my wife. So he's going to draw near to his mother. You know, my dad was always right about this fool I married. And then you start drawing near to the daddy. Okay. That sort of stuff takes place too. But if two people can be able to reach some kind of compromise, especially when it comes to toxic relatives, family, whether they're fake family or real family, if some folks can really come to that meeting of the minds, it could work out. But if not, that's okay. You give these burdens over to the Lord. But what if this happens? What if that happens? You know what? Sometimes it takes, and we see this in media all the time, sometimes it takes bad things to happen before people do what's right. Right? It takes bad things. God even talks to folks and tells them, don't go down this street, don't pick up the phone, or don't go over to this person's house or what have you. And they say, that's my family. Okay, so you got to have some kind of major issue where folks is drunk, stupid, fighting, somebody gets raped, molested, whatever, for you to realize, okay, we got a lot of examples in media as a result. They'll never tell you that. They'll never tell you about all the warnings that they received about that uncle, about that aunt, about the cousin. Okay. Before that crazy incident took place. Oh no, they won't share that information. They won't tell you about the folks that's on prescription medicines and got all sorts of side effects, and they really can't tolerate kids. So they bring their children around, and then the children get abused. But mama just had to go to work, or daddy just had to see his abusive mother or abusive father or whoever. They never tell you about all of the signs that God gives some people leading up to the tragedies, leading up to the major fallouts. Some of these folks, they will not share with you that they too have their share of issues with different relatives and in-laws and so forth, right? They never will. But you can tell by the looks on their faces when they're around them that they got issues too. I had one say, if I were you, I'm not trying to be funny or nothing. And Lord knows I love my family, but if I were you, I wouldn't be doing all that talking to so-and-so. Really? she got issues. I've had other people tell me, we do admire, we respect this person and that person in the family, but you better watch your purse. Okay? I've been in settings where boyfriends, right, and their family members. I've been in settings where it was my fiancés and their family members. And then, of course, my former marriage partner and, of course, my current marriage partner. People got stuff going on in their families, okay? And sometimes that one that you are connected to, he or she don't even know how much stuff is going on. But you were alerted. Now, you can keep on bringing them babies over there if you want to. And you can keep on going along with, I'm going to keep some secrets because I don't want my husband or my wife to be upset. Sometimes God is going to set some arguments up in such a way so that those secrets come out. Okay, well, you know what? Here's my real reason why I don't want. And then you start saying some things. And then that family member's like, oh, my goodness, I can't believe you shared that with him. I told you that was, oh, my gosh, I just can't believe you did this. Look. Whatever it takes to keep my baby safe. Hello. Whatever it takes to keep my relationship intact. I didn't marry you, mouthpiece. I married this man, right? Some of you men, I married this woman and I got to live with her. You see? So if something goes down, I won't be at fault because I already told her. Now, she loved her mama or her daddy or whoever so much that she want to keep on going over there. Okay, you going to learn the hard way too. I warned you. I told you about your family. You want to keep on? That's on you. And so these things happen. So I thank those of you all who reached out with some of your issues, right? Dealing with family members, friends, what have you. I hope that this message is one that will encourage you to not be that one who's always being available, right? To some toxic folks or to some folks who you kicked out, but now you done brought back in. You can shut that door again. You can shut that door again. She's smiling. She's grinning. He's sweet. He's nice. Remember, if you got to bring their attention back to some very bad things that took place, oh, you don't forgive. Nope, I sure don't. They can believe whatever they want to believe. Okay. You know that, yes, I forgave him about it, but I just don't want him in my house. But then that means you didn't forgive. No, that means that I'm no fool. You see, forgiveness is that I'm not going after his throat. Forgiveness is that I'm not calling up my family to hurt that man. You see, I'm just giving you examples. Another thing, get a life that doesn't involve family holiday events. If you know that you are around those sorts of individuals who like to drink and smoke and cuss and act like fools, and you don't want your children around them, then you've got to get a life. That means you start booking those remaining holidays. You start booking them up. Don't buy your kids more toys or whatever else. You put that money towards family vacations, right? Oh, no, I promised the babies. You promised the babies what? Oh, we're going to Disney World. What? We're not going over there. We got lives, honey. And then I got another plan. What? What's your plan? Oh, I already put the deposit down. For what? And then you go ahead on and you start telling them. Oh, no, our doors are not open. They're not open to toxic people, right? You put the money toward the activities that the children can participate on the weekends. Okay. You start looking for additional help. That way you don't have to rely on moms and dads and cousins and sisters and brothers. Okay. You can pick and choose what you want to do, but you got to do it in such a way where you have a life and your children do too. Okay. And another thing is that you should not be expecting anything from a husband or wife, especially if you are not planning on being that role model. If you don't plan on doing all of what you claim that you want that husband or wife to do, don't be demanding anything from them. And then focus on God. Too much activity, too much thought, too much time, energy is being spent on men and women who die. Okay? They die. I know, that sounds morbid. That's terrible, Nicole, that you said that. No, but they die. And just imagine you done spent all of this energy and time and so forth with folks who are temporal, who God intends on taking out of here. Now, does it make any sense to be putting these people on some kind of throne when God, who's responsible for those hearts beating He wants your attention. Some folks, you need to get hooked up with some Bible studies. Some other folks, you need to get out of your home, because as long as someone sees you at home all the time, they're going to put you to work. They're going to tell you, why don't we bring so-and-so over? Why don't we decorate the home? Why don't we, build this and do that? You want your life to revolve around other people's requests? Get a life for yourself. Start doing some research on what the upcoming community activities are. And then another thing is that you are not going to be able to get someone away from their family when they are trained, brainwashed, manipulated, what have you, matriarchs, patriarchs running the family like a cult. You're not going to be able to get somebody away from their family, no matter what nice, sweet things you say, no matter how much you have sex with them, no matter what you buy them. A lot of these men, especially, they have some controlling mothers, and I talked about this in Tell Me Mother You're Sorry. And when they have all of this going on with them, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're competing as a wife or a husband or what have you up against her family or his family, because in the end, you're going to lose. So that's why it's just best to, once again, have a life. Okay? Don't be so mixed up in what he's doing and what he's not doing with his family. And you can always, once again, keep those children busy. Okay? Oh, they never see my mother. They never see my dad. They don't have to always see your mother and see your dad. Well, there's an upcoming family event. I definitely want them to be a part of that. We'll go right ahead. Take the kids. You're not going? Nope. Well, you know they're going to talk about you. I really don't care. Because you're going to have to learn some things the hard way. Oh, what does that mean? Oh, you'll find out. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. You don't have to spill the beans. Somebody, especially if they're in a drunken stupor, are going to spill the beans. And then finally, you can say, see why I told you I wasn't going over there? But sometimes people are just not going to see the lights until there's some darkness that shows up. Okay? Until accidents happen, until tragedies take place. So that's it in a nutshell. I summarized the message. Please do check the description box for anything that might be of interest. And there's plenty. Tell Me Mother You're Sorry. Say goodbye to Dad. Should I go to the party? You need to be prepared. Some of you all, you're going to get all mixed up into that yoke of bondage again. Come Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all over again. What is it going to take? What is it going to take? So somebody has to make a stand. Somebody needs to sit down, sit back. Some other folks, they need to just distance themselves a bit. The books are there. Please do read them. The other thing is that we do welcome donations. So by all means, please, give. And also I have an audio podcast. It is Messages for the Soul. It's on Your Listen / NichollMcGuire. Please do check it out. Well, that is it. Blessings to you.